It's time you realize the need to specialize. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaeffer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, we have Mr. Marc Mawhinney. Marc lost it all. We jump right into it. He was a victim of the real estate debacle. Now, he made some money, but he lost it all. But you know what? He has a great story on how he built that back. Not in real estate, but built himself back. We get into the need for coaches and mentors. Do you need a life coach, a business coach, whatever, and how to turn your failures around. And he has some unique insight on how failures really can help you if you are moving into a business coaching type world, moving into that space. But even if you're not, if you're hiring someone to help you, this will be informative for you. But if you are just in sales in general, this number one thing that we talk about, this number one trait, I talk about it in my Better Prospecting System, bonding, empathy, trust, and rapport. It's part of the Make Every Sale program. But you need to understand the role in this one thing, like I said, that he learns from his failures, and how it's going to make you a better salesperson, a better consultant, a better business coach. I think it'll just make you a better human being. All right? So you're in for a treat. Get ready to take some notes. Let's bring on Marc. Marc Mawhinney, the Tony Robbins Me Too expert. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
How are you doing? I got to leave now.
I couldn't help but open with that. You just gave it to me. You are not the Tony Robbins Me Too expert, and neither am I. But you're all the way in Canada, and you run. I got a few things here. The Coaching Jungle, the Marc Mawhinney Minute Podcast, Natural Born Coaches Podcast, the real ABCs of successful coaching business. Now, can I just grow a sexy beard like you, and I can become a well-known author and coach and consultant? Is that all it takes?
My last interview I did just recently, the woman said to me, you look like Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. But she was talking about episode 8 from The Last Jedi when he's a depressed hermit on the island and stuff. She wasn't talking about when he saved the galaxy in Return of the Jedi. It's like, geez, thanks, I think, And I've gotten Kiefer Sutherland before, too. So I wasn't.
That's all right.
24 guy. But yeah, I suppose, go for it. I recommend that every man should try beard at least once in his life just to see if it fits. That's what I did. I never had, beard till, 10 years ago or 8 years ago. I said, let's give it a try. And here we are.
Well, you're in Canada, man. It works. I'm in SoCal. Yes. And
God.
If I grow a beard, I got to grow long hair. I got to get loop earrings.
Yeah.
I have to learn how to surf. And I have to forget how to use my hands and do anything, manly. But so talk about some haters.
Well, I have a twin brother too, so that he doesn't have a beard. So that was the extra motivation. If you get tired of it after living so many years with a twin brother, now I could just say, yeah, I'm the one with the beard. He doesn't have the scruff. So there's the other motivation for it.
Very nice. So, man, how did you get into this? How did you become this coach's coach?
Well, I'll say a disclaimer first. The joke you made about Tony Robbins and Me Too was just so anyone's wondering. I'd said to Wes that I've been no controversy or whatever. So he picked the most controversial thing in the coaching world to start with. How did I get started with it? Make a long story short, my background's in real estate. So I did that for almost a decade and built throughout my 20s, built my business up, and it was going very well till it wasn't going well. Everything collapsed. And to make a really, really long story short, I was helped back to my feet by several coaches and mentors. And by then I was burned out of real estate. I said, I'm done with it. Don't want to do it. But I got looking at this coaching thing, and where I actually benefited firsthand from it, I said, hey, I'm going to give it a whirl. And here we are. That was back early 2014.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so did you go and get like 47 different degrees and 87 different certifications and 412 different accreditations to make this happen?
You're looking at my certifications on the wall behind me. So where this is a podcast, anyone not watching the video, I'm being sarcastic because I don't have any certification.
He has his own poster behind him.
Yeah, I spent $40
certified.
I laminated my Natural Born Coaches poster. There's my certification. And I can't say I've ever had a person say, I'm ready to hire you, Mark, but before I pay you via PayPal, could you send over a copy of your certification? So there are good ones out there, don't get me wrong, but I do think that it's definitely not necessary with it. I always say mine comes from the school of hard knocks. So where I've gone through business closures, sleepless nights, people wanting to, I say people wanting to kill me. That's probably an exaggeration. People who are very angry at me, critics, haters, and everything else. So I've kind of seen it all, and I actually learned a lot from that. That actually made me a better coach here for doing this. But I always say if you're not doing certifications, you got to be investing in yourself. So me, I don't have certifications, but I spend a fortune, thousands of dollars a year on programs, books, seminars, everything, because you always have to be growing. So it's not enough to say, I don't want to do any certifications and not spend any money on personal development. You got to keep growing. Someone said to me once, you have to outlearn your clients. That's what we have to do as coaches. So yeah, we could do a whole show on certifications. Anytime it's mentioned, that's a big, it's like Lord of the Flies in my Facebook group. Whenever that's brought up, it's everyone kicking everyone and fighting.
Well, it's true. And there are people who, they prey on people, I guess is the way to put it. Because there are some good accreditations, and there's a lot of BS ones. Or you're talking about real estate. I mean, I had a real estate license when I was in Texas, and I was flipping houses. I was rehabbing some. I built some spec homes. I got my license just to save on fees. But going through that process, they didn't teach me how to sell or market. Right? The licensing just really got me scared. Be careful with your paperwork or you'll get sued. It's basically.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of coaching certifications are like. They do 90% of what they're teaching is the art of coaching and all this stuff, but then there's very little there for how to actually get clients. And I have worked with people before who came out of certain certifications so depressed because they've been doing buddy coaching calls for a year or 2 years, all these calls, and it stopped feeling real because they hadn't worked with any real clients. They were just doing these practice calls and studying in the textbooks, everything else. I say you got to just get out there. The best way to become a better coach is coach, right? And just do it.
Well, okay, let's break that down. 'Cause it could be a little easier said than done. I mean, how do you go from, it's like you were in real estate and you were successful and then you weren't successful. Right. And then how do you make that switch? Even if somebody was already successful, let's say they're successful in real estate and they're like, you know what, I'm tired. I want to make a change. How do you make that switch? How do you say, I'm not going to go teach people. I'm going to help people. I want to mentor people. Now, in your case, you're coming off of a loss. How do you get that confidence to know that you bring value? And then how do you know how to charge for it?
Yeah, it was tricky for me because I had gone through that previous decade, no failure, no stumbles. It was beginning to feel too easy. Yeah, I did a ton of work, ton of hours, but I always joke around. I thought by the time I turned 40, I'd be a billionaire with private islands and planes and everything else because it was just going that well with it. And when everything collapsed, there was that little voice in my head that thought, who are you to be a business coach? You just went through this whole messy, thing, and you had this rough period. What I always tell people, regardless of what niche or what industry you're in, you probably have a lot more experience, more than you realize in your noggin. So there's people who are in different industries, been doing it for 20, 30 years. They got a wealth of knowledge, but they never realize that, hey, I'm good enough to actually help other people with this, unfortunately. And they could easily add coaching as a stream of revenue or stream of income to what they're doing. So you have to push past that little voice. I dealt with it as well, but I turned it into a positive. I said, hey, this is something that's, again, made me more empathetic, a better coach. And, it's funny, you probably find this, Wes, with being in the podcasting world. I used to think my story was so rare and outlandish and crazy. My story is boring compared to some of the guests I've interviewed for my show. I've dealt with people who've been in prison, people who, one of them in particular was a promising college athlete, and he literally had a tree go through his windshield, take off half his face. and now he's a motivational speaker. I'm like, man, my story is boring. People who were living in dumpsters and drinking sewer water and eating rats, and I just went through business closure.
Right. So how do you wrap your brain around that, though? If somebody's sitting around, and you're right. I mean, I would say every single person, I don't know, let's pick an age, over the age of 25 that has overcome anything, right? And certainly they could be younger than that if they've endured something. But that, I don't know, we have a bit of a mentality that, you know, I overcame a dead iPhone battery when I was about to order at my Starbucks. And
number first world problems.
Yeah, I found a charger and I was able to, you know, get my cappuccino, caramel macchiato, soy, 182 degrees, no froth, just in the nick of time. So if you've done anything bigger than that, you have a story. You can coach somebody, help somebody through their own challenges. But still, we're all just we're doing our thing. We're living, we're paying the bills, trying to get to the gym, trying to kind of eat right, trying to have a family, whatever. And then it's like, you mean somebody will pay me $100 an hour or $200 an hour or join a $10,000 mastermind program to learn from little old me? I mean, that's a big leap for a lot of people.
Yeah, and not everyone should be a coach. I know that's hard to realize nowadays because you look online and Facebook everywhere else, and there's a lot of them are the certifications saying, yeah, you could be a coach or whatever. But that's just like saying not everyone could be a doctor, NBA player. I'd be a horrible NBA player. I'm a tad over 5'9", and I'm white, you know, and maybe I could be a point guard for the Jazz. Was it John Stockton? I forget.
Yep.
With it. But not everyone can be a coach. So there's people, if you hate people, for example, it's probably not the right fit. There's a lot of people who are jumping into the coaching world now that never want to talk to a real live person. Right away, day one, they want to be selling information, products and programs, digital stuff, where they're making money while they sleep. And there's a saying I heard, which I love, is before you can make money while you sleep, you got to be able to make it while you're awake. So that's the way I started, right? I got the experience of coaching one-on-one in groups, and then I added online programs and a print newsletter subscription and all that down the road. But I made sure I got enough coaching in, especially in the early days. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to coach. They just want to be information marketers.
Yeah. So if somebody is wanting to make that transition, though, I mean, would you recommend I guess the phrase is a side hustle, right? Let's say somebody is a realtor. Should they try coaching other real estate agents? Should you just open up a general coaching mentoring program for just entrepreneurs or salespeople in general and do that on the side while they're running their real estate business? You know, before they can go full time in the other? What's that first initial step?
Well, there's nothing wrong with building it as a side hustle. I think that's smart. And that goes against the grain because a lot of people think, no, you got to tell your boss to shove it and you storm out of the office. But the problem there is the next day you need that client to pay the bills. You're going to take on somebody you don't want to work with that you shouldn't be working with. So there's nothing wrong with building up as a side hustle. Now, don't do it for 10 years. Shouldn't take 10 years to do it. But I've had plenty of clients that have taken 3, 6 months, 9 months, taking their time till they're ready to jump. And even when I started my coaching business, I was working with a telecommunications company here in Canada doing sales. It was home-based. It was a great gig. All my friends said, oh my God, that's an awesome gig. I'm like, no, I'm not passionate about it. I built my coaching on the side, and then I made the leap when my coaching revenue passed what I was doing with that job. And that's probably smart. I didn't put pressure on myself because I knew the bills were going to get paid there as well. But to answer your question of who they should coach, I say never go the general route because I think it is important to niche down, but go based on your experience, on your interests. If you're in real estate, as long as you don't hate it, if you're good at what you do and stuff, great, help other real estate agents. You know, if you build up a successful real estate business, you could help agents in other parts of the country. You're not helping people right on your home market that are your competition. Ray Wood's a guy I know. He's doing big things for coaching or for real estate agents around the world with Top Agents Playbook as a show and stuff. That's all he's doing. He's helping real estate agents sell more. So using that example, that's how I would do it.
And so when you're working with people now, though, I mean, you're not just focused on real estate, even though that was your background, right?
No, I specifically hate real estate. No, I shouldn't say that, but I stay away from it. I've worked with 2 clients who've been in the real estate world more by accident, and that's over the years. I don't target. I did have people saying, "Oh, gee, you should be coaching real estate agents and stuff." And I'm like, man, I want to get away from real estate. Part of it was I felt like I was pigeonholed from. That's all I'd done my whole adult life was real estate. Right out of university, became a real estate agent and did that for years. And I really felt restricted because everyone said, "Oh, Marc's a real estate guy." So now years later, I've finally shaken that label, but I don't want to go back to it. So I have worked with a handful of coaches to help them they're in the real estate world, but they're coaches in the real estate world. They're not real estate agents. One's a coach that helps real estate agents. The other is one that helps real estate investors, and I'm helping them with their businesses. But no, I don't want to do anything with real estate. I've been there, did it, done it, got the T-shirt.
Right. So what is your niche now, if you had to really?
It's I say, for lack of a better term, I'm a coach who coaches coaches. But when I started, I was general entrepreneur, said I'll be a business coach for any entrepreneurs. And what I found out really quickly is I didn't enjoy working with certain, the Joe from Joe's Widgets, that's in the bricks and mortar type business. I had a couple clients who were coaches. I preferred them working with them much more than traditional businesses. So I made a decision at some point down the road where I said, you know what, I'm only going to work with coaches. I'll refer anyone else off. And I still do that to this day. If someone hears my podcast and they reach out and, hey, Marc, for example, I had someone who owned clinics. He was in psychiatry in Baltimore. He heard my podcast somehow and he reached out to me and I just said, look, I don't do that. I only work with coaches, but here's a guy to talk to. And I referred him off.
Gotcha. So like a brick and mortar owner, store owner, I mean, that's just not who you're going after.
No, that's right. And there's more than that. I could probably niche down even further. Right now, I deal with coaches across the board, all different types of them. But I could probably say, hey, I'm only going to help X coaches, a certain type of coach. But right. It works for me with what I'm doing. And right. I always say just you got to niche down. You see a lot of people are life coaches. And not to knock them because I know they're passionate, they want to do good and stuff, but it's really tough to get out there as a life coach because there's millions of them. It's tough to get your head above the crowd. But we need people to be alive so we can coach them. So shouldn't I be a life coach? Yeah, I don't want to be a dead coach. I would say niche down, but don't get so niched that you're saying I'm going to work with left-handed dentists named Bob from Idaho who are recently divorced and selling their business in the next 6 months. That's a little too niche down.
Hold on, let me do a Google search.
Yeah, there could be a dentist like that. I don't know if I'd want him operating or doing anything with my mouth, though. Might be a little depressed.
So how are you getting the word out now? Because you talk about noisy. I mean, it is a crowded space. Social media is crazy. It's now a pay-to-play arena. There's Facebook pages, there's Facebook groups, there's Facebook private groups, there's Slack channels. There's just, golly, it seems like it keeps moving. Private membership sites, WordPress, Kajabi. Yeah. I mean, where do you put stuff, to and get the attention of such a fragmented, hectic world?
Well, me personally, I have 3 ways I'm getting business. It's through, one of them is through podcasting. So I have 2 podcasts and an Alexa flash briefing. So when I say podcasting, I mean as a host or doing like shows like this where I'm a guest. So I got podcasting, I've got Facebook. And when I say Facebook, the Facebook group's a big part of it. The Coaching Jungle's my group. There's 13,000 some coaches in there. And then the third way is email marketing, but daily emails, that's my thing. I've been doing that now for almost 2.5 years. So I'm a big fan of daily emails. So if I'm doing the podcasting, Facebook, and emailing daily, I know that I'm good. But one thing I will say, you mentioned that social media is pay to play, but Actually, I built my business up with like organic, not doing paid ads. And that's what I help coaches do as well. That's kind of my hook, is I help coaches get more clients without paid ads. It just means that you have to make up for that lack of ad spend with a lot of rolling up your sleeves, putting the effort in there to create content, get your message out there. But it is possible to build up without paying.
So like your group, you've got, I've got multiple tabs here. Look at that handsome mug. I mean, I'm kind of distracted looking at that profile.
Is that my Tarzan? Oh, I thought you were looking at the banner for the group. Me and Tarzan and Garb. If anyone wants to see a cartoon Marc and Tarzan Garb, go over to the coaching jungle.
So, so you've got two, right? You've got that's your page. All right. That's your page for your podcast. But then you also have the group. But the group, is it free?
Yes.
It's free, but it's private, right? People have to answer a few questions and get opted in.
Well, they have to request to join. I don't make them answer questions, but we've got a few criteria. So my DAs know that not to accept anyone without a profile picture. If you're a member of over 250 groups, they won't accept you. If you, yeah, if you, so no profile picture, that.
You can see that about somebody?
Yeah, when they request to join. We've had literally people request to join that have been in 1,800 groups or more, or like 2,100. It's like, gee, I wonder if this person's a spammer. If they just joined Facebook within the last month, we don't accept them in there. So they don't have to say that they're a coach, because some people could be interested in coaching and they may not be one already. But we need to make sure that they're a real live person, not a bot or a fake.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of that. So how active are you in that group? I mean, daily postings, multiple times a day? 3
to 4 a day. And then some days it could be even a tad more. Now, I'm cheating a bit. One of them's a scheduled theme post, but the others are actually me posting in there. But yeah, I've heard from a few people who are in the know with Facebook. I'm not friends with Mark Zuckerberg or anything, but they say 3 to 4 is that magic number in your Facebook group. So it's not enough. 4 or 5 years ago, you could get away with posting once every couple of days probably, and it wouldn't kill you. Nowadays, you got to be in there every day. And if you're not being active in there, why will anyone else be active? Because you're the group owner and you're not paying any attention to it.
So as an outsider, I'm thinking, holy cow, what interesting things. Can I be interesting 4 or 5 times a day? Like I got to get my energy. I got to get a running start to be interested, like interesting every 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 times a day. How do you do it?
Well, some of the content's repackaged. So for example, my daily emails, I usually put it over into the Facebook group. So I think that's smart if you can repackage some of your content. I find the more content you're creating gets easier. So it's kind of like going to the gym. I'm not terribly consistent with the gym. I do have a great week, then a bad week, great week. But when it comes to content, I'm doing it every day. So it does get easier the more that you do it that way. But it doesn't have to be the meaning of life or anything earth shattering. I think a lot of people make that mistake where, I got to post something that's going to knock people's socks off. My stuff doesn't knock people's socks off. I'm posting things to make people think, teaching a lesson, telling a story, entertaining. But it's not like it's a meaning of life. They got to pay to get the meaning of life. I'm just kidding. Going to pitch my other group that has a meaning of life in there. You can pay $10,000, you can get it.
Very nice. So that brings up the next point. So you're engaging them, you're entertaining them. How do you make that transition to them being a paying client?
Well, I think you have to set the tone early on. So when they join, they're seeing the rules on the side of the group and everything else. I'm very clear, hey, we don't allow promotion on the wall here. There's scheduled theme days to keep it in those posts. But by the way, I'm promote my stuff regularly. And if you're not cool with that, you should probably leave. So I'm saying it right off the hop. Hey, I'm in business, spoiler alert. And that's a trade-off. I build a community that's giving a lot of good stuff for free, 13,000 some people. The trade-off is I'm selling to that community at times, just because I'm in business. But so that's the first thing. A lot of Facebook group owners shoot themselves in the foot right off the hop by saying, I had a past client do this. I was ready to strangle him. I was in his group and he said, hey guys, welcome to my group. This group isn't going to be like other ones out there. I will never sell to you. And I'm thinking, oh, geez. And so in a year, he built it up to 1,100 people, but he had the worst collection of freeple and cheaple that gathered into that group. I was watching them, and he ended up having to just abandon the group. He left it with another guy, and he started another group, but he did it the right way. Right off the hop, he was making offers, and he wasn't setting that expectation that he wouldn't be selling in there. So, but I mean, to answer your question for the switch to monetization, you could do things like joint venture webinars. So, you're a sales pro, Wes. If you've got some sort of product that will help coaches, because coaches have to sell, great. We do a joint webinar in there and I get affiliate commissions for that. Or I do Facebook Lives promoting. I have a print newsletter subscription. The last 2 weeks of every month, I talk a lot about it because it goes to the printer the last day of the month. So you can monetize it, but you can't be afraid of your group. You got to sell to it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, because there's so much happy talk and good feelings, and I'm all for that. But, man, you got to make money. If you're not in business, if you don't save yourself, you can't save anybody else.
Yeah, there's too many people, not just coaches, any online entrepreneur, they're just regurgitating Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey quotes, Brendan Bouchard, Les Brown, and they're sending it. And don't get me wrong, I love motivational quotes, but I would rather hear from you, Wes, as opposed to that Jim Rohn quote that I've heard 844 times in my life. I could Google that and get those motivational quotes. And it means putting your personality out there too. So I put my personality out there. I don't want to be boring. I say there's that mushy middle. A lot of coaches are stuck in there. They're afraid of offending and polarizing. You should drive people away from you, and you can't be in the mushy middle. It's better to have half the people love you, half the people hate you.
Yeah. I always talk about, magnets attract to the same power that they repel.
Yeah, exactly. So a good example, I think you're in Ben Settle's group, right? Is that where we were talking before?
I got to talk to Ben.
Were you booted?
I had him on the show, man. I made one comment about sandwiches. And I got kicked out over a year ago. So maybe he'll forgive me and let me back in. He has tough administrators.
Okay. Well, he has a new group now, so it's not the old one. You might have booted out of the old one. But I use Ben as an example, someone who polarizes and isn't afraid. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh God, he has a target audience, and he's not afraid. He'll go after feminists, social justice warriors, just a bunch of people there. And it means he's got a lot of raving fans. I love his stuff and I reference him regularly, but he's got a lot of people that hate him and think that he's horrible, but he has a great business, and it's better to do it that way than try to please everybody, which is impossible anyways. But there's way too many boring online entrepreneurs, and they need to step out and take some stronger stances and ruffle some feathers. Yeah.
Yeah. It's too easy. That mushy middle is a good name. I think we were talking about Dan Kennedy. Doesn't he reference the mediocre majority or one of those
Dan
guys?
Kennedy, one of his recent newsletters, I was reading it, and he literally said in the newsletter, he said, "Thank God we have a president now like Donald Trump that isn't afraid of being politically incorrect." And he put a pro-Trump thing in there. And that takes balls, the way people are nowadays, right? You say Donald Trump, that just triggers everybody. And there's an example of somebody who's done very well with polarization. You never see anyone who's in the middle with Donald Trump. If you say, hey, what do you think of President Trump? It's never like, he's okay. I'm kind of feeling it out. I'm waiting to see how he does. It's either they think he can walk on water or he's Satan. And it's never anywhere in the middle, right? Yeah. And that's probably a big reason why he's president at the moment. But Dan Kennedy put a very pro-Trump thing there. And Dan Kennedy with his newsletter, I don't know if you ever noticed a small print at the bottom of one of the final pages. He gives instructions. He doesn't use a lot of tech. He gives instructions about faxing him stuff.
Right.
He uses a fax. But he basically, in that small print, he is... I won't say condescending to his people, but he's very clear. Hey, if you don't include this with your fax, I'm throwing it out. Don't expect a response, and don't do this to me. I don't have time to deal with this or whatever. He's just very clear. Here's how you do business with me. And he's not afraid to drive people away. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm paying Dan Kennedy $50 a month for his newsletter or whatever. I can shit on him and treat him like crap. No, he's like, I don't need your money. Here's how you communicate with me. If you don't want to do it, buzz off.
Yep. Yeah, I always use the example in my training, Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern. So same thing with Trump, right? Yep. Nobody's on the fence about Rush Limbaugh or Howard Stern. You love them or you hate them. There's none of this, I can take him or leave him. No.
Well, there's that Howard. Did you ever see the Howard Stern clip? It was on YouTube, the one about he doesn't want your feedback. This whiny guy calls and says, yeah, I've got a suggestion, Howard. And Howard's like, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Cuts him right off. And he goes, no, you got to listen to me. We're a community. He goes, no, I don't. So if I listened to people like you, I wouldn't have a show.
Exactly.
He's like, go call Ryan Seacrest. He cares about what people think. I don't. And I recommend people check it out. If you go on YouTube and look, something like Howard Stern doesn't want your feedback or something like that, you'll find it. That's a perfect way to deal with it. And that's why he's the highest paid guy on the radio, is because he doesn't listen to he's not going for the mushy middle.
Yeah. There's a guy I've known for years, Roy Williams down in Austin, and he owns the Wizard of Ads. And I first went to one of his sessions back in 2002. He's written 3 New York Times bestsellers, but he says the risk of insult is the price of clarity.
I like it. And it's funny you mentioned that. One of my friends up here in Eastern Canada goes to the Wizard of Ads. So the name sounded familiar when you said that. I was like, how do I know it? Then you said Wizard of Ads. I'm like,
oh, dude.
There we go.
We should coordinate. Look at the calendar. I'm always looking for an excuse to get down there and find a session you like. I'll go down with you. It's I love going back to Texas anyway, but
I've never been to Texas, but my goal is to get the South Fork Ranch at some point, because I used to love Dallas, the TV show. So I want to go. They have Miss Ellie's Deli. I want to go eat at the deli on the ranch.
Well, so a good friend of mine, actually from the Air Force Academy, his parents, I think they're still there. They were neighbors. And so we'd go out there and look around, and that was after the show was over. But he still lives in Fort Worth. I don't know if his parents are still there, but I can meet you there too. So I'm happy to go to Dallas as well. Just do not go now.
No.
Being from Canada, you will step off the airplane into the air out of the terminal, and you will just die. You will just spontaneously combust. There will just be your beard and your iPhone will all that remain.
Well, I went to your neck of the woods for a speaking gig last March for Social Media Marketing World, and everyone in San Diego was talked about how cold it was. They're all like bundled up, like, oh my God, this is horrible. Me, I'm walking around shorts and flip flops. I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. And everybody's
it was probably 60, huh?
It was right around, it was beach weather. I was the pasty Canadian on the beach. But everyone else was talking about how horrible it was. I was like, man, I grew up in Canada. This is awesome.
So I remember talking about doesn't want feedback. I remember years ago, Roy, I don't know if he put it in his newsletter or was talking about it, but he was like, he had staff that filters the hate mail, right? The hate mail, the feedback, whatever. He says, I don't see it. And I remember thinking, so this was years and years ago, thinking like how arrogant and how do you improve? How do you get better? And then as I grew my business, and I realized it is so debilitating to get the hate mail, and you think you're putting yourself out there, spend hours, weeks, months on something, and somebody just wants to sharpshoot it. And it's if you're surrounded by people that care about you, that they'll find the errors anyway and hopefully fix them before you hit send. But typos and whatever are part of it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I do my best proofreading in the 32 milliseconds right after I hit send. I'll find all the errors once it goes out to 13,000 people. No problem.
The way I prefer to deal with hate mail and stuff is screenshot it, but then use it to rile up your people to get them to defend. So a perfect example of this I just saw recently, John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire. Somebody sent John just a brutal email. He talked about John's hair or lack of hair.
Oh, I remember that.
Talked about Kay, talked about everything. Just really, oh my God, it was over top. John I'm on John's email list and connect with him on social media. He shared it and said he was very open with it. And he got so much traction. I thought, oh my God, I should create my own hate mail for myself, something like that, and put it out
really
there. But kudos to John for being very open, because that's a freaky thing. This guy sounded like a stalker, a guy or gal that sent that message. But anytime I get something like that, I post it out there for a couple of reasons. First of all, I like to mock them. That's another Ben Settle thing. Never, or Grant Cardone, never waste a good hater. Hater fuel and stuff. So I put it out there to mock them, but I also do it to show coaches that it's not the end of the world if you get critics, right? So I have had coaches say to me, Mark, thank you for sharing that thing with somebody calling you a complete idiot, because, I had to laugh at it, and it shows that, you can handle it, rolls off your back, and it makes me more willing to put my stuff out there. So that's one of the reasons I do it as well. But I'm sure you, from having a podcast, you've had these nut bars. I had an idiot from South Africa, Johannesburg, once send me a message, and I ended up getting so much mileage from that. I should thank him. It wasn't quite as bad as John's. It was pretty bad, and that's how I deal with it. I either ignore it, go along with my day, or I will screenshot it. I will use it to get business. I'll put it into my emails, or I'll put it on social media to sell something.
Yeah, I do that too. I'll screenshot it and share it, and partly to encourage others, because if you've never had a hater, it's a little scary. It's a little daunting. It can take the wind out of your sails just as soon as you're getting started. And it's like, you got to be tough. You got to have some thick skin. Talk about Trump or Limbaugh or Howard Stern. I mean, they get a lot of hate mail.
Oh, yeah. Well,
right?
This is a silver lining for my real estate closure, August of 2009, is I got a ton of anonymous and not anonymous hate mail. And back then, my local newspaper online, they had zero controls for their commenting. So you could jump on there as Monkey Boy 1950 or whatever you want to use for username, and you could say literally anything you want on there, and you would not believe the filth that was going on there. So for me, it was shitty at the time, but it was also good because I've dealt with so many kooks and idiots in my real estate life that now I'm like, oh yeah, some guy in his parents' basement in Boise, Idaho doesn't like me. It's not a big deal. I've dealt with worse. There is a great book I recommend people check out. It's called Thick Face, Black Heart. And it's my favorite book, but I wish I had known about it back in 2009 with the business closure. I found out about it a few years later. I read it a few times a year. If you want to get a thicker skin, read Thick Face, Black Heart by Chin Ning Chu.
Wow. I haven't heard of that one.
No, and not a lot of people have. It's not like Think and Grow Rich or one of those books. It's my favorite book, and I read a ton of books.
The Warrior Philosophy for Conquering the Challenges of Business and Life.
Yeah, it's not woo-woo. It's not fluff. If you want to manifest your dreams by shooting positive vibrations out of your behind, stick with the secret. It is very realistic. It's saying in a nutshell, human beings are horrible by nature. Here's how you deal with them. It's very realistic. There's no rose-colored glasses.
Well, that's why I take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I just choke them unconscious and just leave them in their own puddle of drool and dribble.
My son's in jiu-jitsu, so I'll tell him that when he's older. Anyone bugs you, just choke him out.
They only remember what hit them, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't even hurt. They just go to sleep for a little while. I know. I've been choked out.
Yeah.
You're like, where am I? What the heck just happened? Why is everybody looking at me like this? How come I can't really move my body?
Yeah, in Canada, we don't fight. We're too polite.
I know. That's why I love you, man. That's why I love you.
Yeah, but it is tough online. I mean, it can be, like you say, it can be freaky where if you're putting your message out there, it's so easy for people to take pot shots. There's a whole crabs in a bucket mentality or tall poppy syndrome and stuff. And my suggestion to my clients, coach I'm working with, is you got to get beat up. It's scary, but just get out there, get beat up. You'll grow a thicker skin. You'll be better off for it. But you're going to take some virtual hits in the process. Just live with it.
Yeah. Toughen up. Very nice. And the way they can do that, we'll give them a few resources, and it's how we opened up, right? You got your private group. So it's the Coaching Jungle, thecoachingjungle.com.
You got her.
Right?
Yeah.
And then from there, I don't want to overwhelm y'all. Just go there, thecoachingjungle.com. From there, you can find his podcast, Natural Born Coaches podcast, get his book. I linked to it as well in the episode. So I want to be aware of the time. So, Marc, I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm serious about going to Austin. If you want to go.
Let's hit South Fork. We'll get the cowboy hats and, JR.
We can just do a Texas tour, man. We can go to Dallas, go to South Fork. We'll head down to Austin, get a little marketing conference. I'll take you to Houston, where I grew up. We'll get some barbecue. You'll be treated like a king, man. You may never go back. You may just.
It looks like a great state, so it's on my list.
All right. Very nice. Well, Marc Mawhinney, all the way from Canada, eh? Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast, man.
Yes.
It's been great.
Thanks, Wes.
How did you like hearing from Luke Skywalker, huh? Or Mark Hamilton, or what's his name? Oh, yeah, Marc. Marc Mawhinney. Good dude, right? I mean, super humble, modest. He's got a very successful business. He has had 2 successful businesses at least, right? I mean, he lost one. He was honest about that. And the lessons he learned, the empathy, failing and bouncing back, fighting back, it does give you character. It makes you tough. And more people need more character and more toughness, more thick skin. So it was great having Marc on. I've known him online for quite some time. And we were supposed to schedule this months and months ago, and we were messaging through Facebook and just lost in the thread and bounced back and got him on. He hopped right on. So really nice guy. If you're looking for a business coach, give him a shout, give him a look over, check out his podcast. It may be just what the whisperer ordered. But I love the way he has niched down. He has narrowed it down. I had a niche, then I had another niche, then I got kind of general, and I'm back at niching. Really focusing on sales training. It's just needed. It applies to everything. He talks about empathy, and I love the fact he brought that up, because I was, talking about it in the beginning, the better prospecting system, bonding, empathy, trust, and rapport. And even if you don't have to pick up the phone anymore, and I don't, I don't have to make cold calls, but I do have people set appointments with me if they pass my sniff test. Like he talks about his 3 criteria. I've got the criteria. So, are you able to be empathetic? Just today, as I record this, before I head out on a 12-day vacation, I had my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach over and his wife, and helping them with their marketing. And I talked about the importance of having a buyer persona, right? You've got to understand your niche. Who are you going after? And as we broke it down, it was enlightening to them. It was enlightening to me, seeing his business from the inside, and who he wants to go after, who the persona is. And it wasn't who you'd think. So, hey, I have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mentor. Now he has a marketing mentor. And then we even put some things into practice today when we were done training, getting testimonials, getting people to do reviews. And, but it all boils down to that empathy, knowing what's going on. I've always said this. Robert Collier talked about entering the conversation going on in the mind of your prospects. Can you do that? That's empathy. So if you're going through a tough spot right now, keep going. There will be a lesson in there. There will be a benefit. This will help you grow down the road. And who knows? It's hard to tell, but you just got to keep going. And having a team, having a coach, it helps you. When I got serious about sales training, I took a 12-week teleclass with a PDF workbook. And then I ended up hiring that coach and becoming his first licensee. Spent thousands of dollars on that. That's back in 2006. So, 12 years ago, $10,000, and then $500 a month, and $1,000 a month. So You don't have to pay that kind of money. Check out makeeverysale.com. Come join us in this ongoing program to toughen up, get better in your negotiations, get better in your time management, get better in your goal setting, get better in understanding and reading people. I spend a lot of time on that. You know, you don't have to manipulate people. You don't need NLP and hypnosis, but you do have to adjust how you sell to match how the prospect buys. Okay? And that's what I spend a lot of time on. In the Make Every Sale program, you know, I'm talking about giving you the foundation and the confidence to just be calm. You know, it's one thing I always notice when I'm doing jiu-jitsu. You know, I'm rolling with these higher belts, and I think I've got them in a good position, and they're just so calm. They're literally not stressed. They're not tense. They're not breathing heavy. And I just know it's coming, right? It's like, okay, on a lower belt, they're freaking out, and I'm smashing them. Higher belts are like, yeah, whatever. They're so calm because they know the next move. They know that they're prepared, that wherever I go, towards their head, towards their feet, to their side, to their arms, to their elbows, to their wrists, to their knees, whatever. They've practiced enough that they know they can react and then use that movement, my movement, to their advantage. That's what I want you to do in sales, is to just be calm. Be in the moment. And people talk about not wanting to have a script. You know, salespeople will tell me, oh, I feel all constricted and bound up. But the reality is, when you have a script, just like in jiu-jitsu, we do the script over and over and over again. We know how to escape certain positions. It's a script. In sales, when you know what they're going to say and you know you have a good answer for it, then you know you can disarm that little ticking time bomb and then throw a little ticking time bomb back in their lap. Okay? And, you know, it's not negative. It's just an analogy, right? But it's just hot potato going back and forth. The prospect thinks they're going to just ask you so many questions and stump you, but it's just their defense mechanism. They're scared because they've been abused by so many other salespeople. So are you confident in that moment? And this is when most salespeople stress out. They freak out. Their demeanor changes, and it's that change. Okay? Doesn't matter if you talk fast, if you talk slow, if you use big words, if you use little words, if you're very laid back and calm in your presentations, or if you're very animated, hands flying around. When you change, that's what sends off signals in the mind of the prospect, and they can't put their finger on it. But that's when they're like, I'm not quite sure. I want to think it over. You know, thank you very much for your presentation. We're gonna give this some serious thought. You know, we appreciate your time. We'll get back to you. And you don't even know what the change is. You can't see it from your own. It's so hard to read the label from inside the bottle. It's why you need a coach. It's why you need a mentor. It's why you need to engage somewhere with peers that are helping you. People that are in different industries but have the same issues. And they'll give you unique approaches on how to overcome your toughest issues. Because not only do we meet live every week on the call, there's a private group. And we're all answering one another's questions almost in real time. So come join us, all right? MakeEverySale.com. You'll be glad you did. I mentioned last time, too, if you need a speaker, if you're part of an association, if you've got a company, an annual sales meeting, a quarterly meeting, a regional meeting, let me know, pretty please. Check out HireTheBestSpeaker.com. That'll take you to my website. Spoken around the world, going to Slovenia in November, talking about going to Florida next May, spoken in Vegas, spoken in Phoenix, all over the place. So if you've got a team, you want to motivate them, inspire them. I draw on my military background, Air Force Academy, being recruited for football, talking about having a big family, being in sales for a decade, having my own business for over a decade. So, I'll customize it to your theme and really make it hit home. And then if you need additional help, leading a breakout session or something like that, let's talk. I do that all the time, and I want to do it more. And I want to do it for you. So hit me up. Okay, if you're part of an association, you know of an association, or it's just for your company, I will come out there and rock their socks. So, hey, thanks for listening. One other thing. I had somebody buy my book this past week, and that's a great thing. I need more of you to do that. Check it out, 79stories.com. 79stories.com. I will autograph it for you for no extra charge. Now go sell something.